A large majority of research in the field of aesthetics and cognitive psychology focuses on morphological features such as the nose, eyes, lips, and facial shapes such as symmetry and dimorphism. These are inherently salient aspects of the face that we notice, whether they're disproportionate or proportionate, attractive or unattractive. However, there's one aspect that we fail to pick up on: the skin. Much like an unstealthy ninja, you only notice it when it's bad, but as preliminary studies show, healthy looking skin is an important determinant of human physical attractiveness. Well-kept skin is taken as a perceived health trait, although whether it's a good indicator of actual physical health still remains to be seen. In a 2002 experiment by Jones et al., different patches of male skin were shown to female participants, with each patch varying by complexion, tone, evenness, and blemishes to find a correlation for attractiveness. Likewise, a full-face morph was then created with deliberately adjusted skin tones, with the paler, uneven skin tone on the right being found to be unhealthier than that of the left. Healthier looking skin did significantly correlate with attractiveness. More importantly, it shows that changing just one aspect of the face, something that for most people doesn't even require surgical intervention, can have a large impact on aesthetics. So how can we define what healthy skin actually is? Let's start off with skin tone. In a 2014 study by Cruz and Mullet, there was a notable correlation with preferred skin tone and attractiveness for both Mozambican and French participants. This study is from a strictly biological perspective that compared different combinations of attractive African and European features on different skin tones. In other words, coinophilic or genetically average faces for that particular race were the most attractive. Having pale skin on African features becomes incredibly polarizing, and vice versa. White Kanye just doesn't look the same. One interesting point from this study is that it equates the social benefits of darker skinned Africans bleaching their skin to be a few shades lighter to be as equally as unfruitful as Europeans tanning their skin to be a few shades darker. Having an even complexion is actually more important than trying to artificially change the color of your skin, otherwise your facial features just won't match. Fink et al. Showed that in 2001, with greater skin homogeneity, so that's the color correlation of neighboring pixels as being perceived to be more attractive. The study also found that smoother skin texture was more attractive on women as an indicator of immune health, but did not support the theory that men find women with paler skin to be more attractive as initially proposed by Vandenberg and colleagues. And on that note, slightly reddish skin was perceived as healthier and bluish skin as unhealthier, although this particular study is limited to only Caucasian faces, unlike the previous ones. To achieve a more homogeneous skin, it's important to talk about blemishes and their impact. From Jaeger et al.'s 2018 study on blemishes, cosmetic skin flaws are more closely linked to trait perceptions rather than simply being a matter of attraction. In fact, the presence of blemishes may be a more salient indicator of health than skin smoothness, due to humans evolving with a host of skin diseases, from the malignant smallpox to benign acne. Even the slightest skin blemishes can be a hit to facial attractiveness, as Ness 2005 and Zebrowitz and Rhodes 2004 found, because the cost of a false positive, so failing to identify sickness, outweighs the cost of a false negative, where you avoid a healthy person. This heightened sensitivity to diseases causes acne to be such a troubling condition for young adolescents, when their self-esteem is at its most vulnerable. From the 2018 Jaeger et al. Study, the negative effects of blemished skin outweigh the positive benefits of smooth skin. From that same paper, the benefits of smooth skin are halved when paired with skin blemishes. Lastly, people with high pathogen disgust perceive unattractive participants as even more unattractive compared to those with low pathogen disgust, as found by Park et al. 2012. This is because of what I mentioned at the beginning on blemishes being linked with trait perception, essentially making acne to be worse than it actually is for facial aesthetics. These are very important nuances to skin blemishes, because if you're in the large majority of this channel's demographic of young adults, chances are you've dealt with or are dealing with skin blemishes at some point in your life. The most common blemish would likely be acne vulgaris. Although it's common to have the occasional singular breakout here and there, which isn't acne, a larger systematic breakout most likely would be. Propionibacterium acnes is an anaerobic bacteria that resides on everyone's skin. It has the role of being a powerful immunostimulant for the skin, but only ever grows uncontrollably when certain skin terrain conditions are met, most commonly during puberty. Being a skin disease, I see a lot of people with severe acne refuse to visit a dermatologist because they've been taught that it's from a lack of cleanliness. Obsessively cleansing your skin to get rid of excess oil only makes your body produce more, which in turn creates more comedones that disrupt your skin's microstructure. Acne is problematic, not because it looks and feels bad for the time being, but because it can leave serious scarring in the long term. The scarring reduces your skin's smoothness and acts as a notable blemish, which, as we've just learned, is a double no-no. Acne, much like most skin diseases, is treatable with modern medicine. R/skincare addiction is great for establishing a routine, but like with most bacterial infections, antibiotics are a more permanent fix. For those that don't respond to broad-spectrum antibiotics such as doxycycline, dermatologists in certain countries can actually prescribe Accutane, isotretinoin, which is the only prescribed medication that targets the root cause of acne, excess oil production, by shutting it off completely. It's about as heavy duty as acne medication can get, and you can imagine how turning off an entire bodily feature can result in a very long list of side effects. Accutane itself is the brand name which was taken off the shelves by Roche, the major producer, due to being hit with many personal injury lawsuits over the course of its product cycle. The most concerning side effect being depression, but a 2017 meta-analysis by the American Academy of Dermatology found that its use is not linked with depression and that curing acne actually helps with it. The drug faced highly publicized cases too, where in the 2000s a US congressman blamed Accutane for the death of his 17-year-old son. But again, in another 2016 study, there was weak to no correlation between Accutane and depression. It could actually be a case of selection bias, where the people that are suffering from acne that's serious enough to warrant taking Accutane are already at their weakest mental state, and a lack of improvement or response to the drug may be enough to cause them to lose hope. There are definitely more confounding effects at play surrounding Accutane. That's what makes it so controversial and difficult to study. For instance, all of these studies have a low sample size, because it would be unethical to give it to moderately healthy participants due to its severity. Another main concern of the drug is that it increases the risk of bowel disease, but this was refuted by a 2016 study by the European Journal of Gastroenterology, which found no increased risk. Now, to tie this all back to aesthetics, this part is purely anecdotal, and while the previous was factual, this is my own opinion. Many years ago, I asked my dermatologist for Accutane when antibiotics weren't working. My acne wasn't very serious, and I don't have any pictures, but this is a close representation. The bigger concern was the presence of acne scarring if I left it untreated and let nature take its course. The 6-month course of Accutane started working very quickly, and the most serious side effect I ever got was extreme dryness on my forearms. My experience with it was very positive, and it completely cleared up my skin with no scars, leaving behind even complexion and smoothness. From what we know about the importance of healthy skin, if you're suffering from acne, it is better to see your dermatologist on ways to clear it up, rather than buying L'Oreal's new $2,000 face cleansing cream. In terms of aesthetic gain, I'd argue that it's one of the highest because it's non-surgical and strongly correlated with trait perception. Some people completely don't respond to medication, while others find its side effects too strong, and there are alternatives to medication such as microdermabrasion and cortisol injections to indefinitely manage the bacteria until your body stops producing excess oil, With over 80% of the population relating to skin blemish struggles, having clear skin is a huge aesthetic benefit. And with that, we bring this video to a close. While the idea was to fit in wrinkles and fine lines in the same video, that's a large topic that deserves its own episode. So do subscribe to the channel to catch that next week. As always, leave your suggestions down below, and if you would like for us to analyze your face and give you the rundown on your own features, order an aesthetics report at the Q's site.